We're right in the midst of the NBA Summer League, where most of our attention has been focused on watching some of the top prospects like Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, and Jabari Smith unofficially debut for their new teams. All of them probably would have been selected first if they were in a different draft class, and I believe they're all going to have long, successful careers. But that's not always the case for a number one pick. So in today's video, I'm going to be ranking every number one pick in the 2010s from worst to best. My only rule is I will be ranking everyone based on what they have already done in the league rather than their potential. I know that's biased against younger players who haven't even hit their primes yet, but then we'd be ranking hypothetical scenarios, and I feel like that's even more unfair because you just never know how a player's career will pan out. So without further ado, let's get started with number 10. Number 10, Anthony Bennett. Anthony Bennett is the epitome of what you don't want in a number one draft pick. Selected by the Cavs in 2013, it was a shocking pick even at the time, as most mock drafts had him going in the mid-lottery.
The Cleveland Cavaliers select Anthony Bennett of Toronto, Canada.
Bennett averaged just 4 points and 3 rebounds a game while being equally as horrendous on defense, playing just 4 seasons for 4 different teams, and has been out of the league for over 5 years now. He's also the only player on this list who is no longer in the NBA, and for that fact alone, it was a no-brainer putting him last, as he is one of the biggest busts in NBA history. Number 9, Markelle Fultz. Fultz has definitely had one of the strangest careers I can think of. Drafted by the 76ers in 2017, Fultz was seen as one of the safer picks in the draft as he could score at all 3 levels, played solid defense, and was an exceptional playmaker at Washington. But once he got to the league, his shooting form changed, and not for the better. Fultz averaged just under 8 points on 41% shooting in just 33 games in his first 2 seasons in Philadelphia. Apparently, he had a shoulder injury that changed his form seemingly overnight, but nonetheless, Philadelphia gave up on him and Fultz was traded to the Magic, where it looked like he was turning a corner, averaging 12 a game on 46% shooting in the 2020 season. That following year, however, he tore his ACL and has only played in 26 games in the past 2 seasons. Fultz is only 24 and still has time to turn his career around, but I don't really believe he's going to be any more than an average starter in the league. Number 8, Deandre Ayton. Selected by the Phoenix Suns in 2018, Ayton's career has really flown under the radar, and that's probably because he was selected over guys like Luka Doncic and Trae Young, where they've become the focal points of their team, while Ayton is yet to take that leap. But let's not ignore the fact that this man has been a walking double-double since he entered the league, with career averages of 16 and 10. Let's also not forget that he just helped the Suns get to the finals a year ago as a third option at just 22 years old. Ayton's potential is still there, and he has a great chance to climb this list as the years go on, but I just don't have him higher at the moment because everyone else above him has already proven to be an all-star level player. If Ayton had his own team, he'd definitely be averaging better numbers by now, but now that he's signed a max extension, he'll be with the Suns till at least the trade deadline, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Number 7, Zion Williamson. Selected by the Pelicans in 2019, Zion was the most difficult player to rank because when he's on the court, he's been fantastic, as just 1 year ago, he was averaging 27 and 7 on 61% shooting and was named an all-star starter at just 20 years old. The only problem is he's not usually on the court. Zion has only played in 85 games since he's entered the league, and he missed all of last season with a foot injury. But if Zion can stay healthy, man, this dude is going to be scary when he hits his prime. Zion's athleticism is just ridiculous for his size, and the league has literally never seen anyone like him. So if he can stay healthy, there's no reason why he can't be number 1 on this list when it's all said and done. But until then, he just hasn't done enough to beat the other 6 guys on this list. Number 6, Andrew Wiggins. Selected by the Cavaliers in 2014, then traded to the Timberwolves before the start of his rookie season, Wiggins was viewed as a disappointment during his time with Minnesota because he was expected to be the number 1 scoring option, and while he did average almost 20 points a game, he didn't do it efficiently enough to make up for the fact that he was a poor playmaker and also one of the league's worst defenders. But that all changed when he got traded to Golden State in 2020. Next to Curry, Wiggins doesn't need to be the #1 guy anymore, and as a result, he's getting much better shot opportunities. He's also improved greatly on the defensive end, as he's now one of the league's best defending wings, and he proved it by locking down Jason Tatum in this year's finals to help the Warriors win their 4th title in 8 years. And Wiggins was the 2nd best player on that team. That's something that only 2 other players on this list have done. Number 5, Ben Simmons. Drafted by the 76ers in 2016, Simmons was touted to be a future superstar in the league with elite playmaking and finishing abilities, and all the physical gifts to be able to guard positions 1 through 5. And he's been able to do all those things at an elite level. However, he's only regressed offensively since entering the league simply because he outright refuses to shoot the ball. And that really limits his offensive game, which got exposed in the 2nd round last year against the Atlanta Hawks.
They cleared out for him, tapping his way in, spins on Gallinari, gives it up, oh, he was right there!
That was also the last time we saw Ben Simmons in action, because after that, he requested a trade and sat out until he was traded to the Nets this past February. He then somehow developed a lower back injury that caused him to miss the rest of the season, and his value is now lower than it's ever been. However, I still can't overlook the fact that he's elite at every part of the game except shooting, which has earned him 3 All-Star appearances, an All-NBA appearance, and 2 All-Defense selections, including being the runner-up for Defensive Player of the Year in 2021. And for that, he ranks right in the middle of my list. Number 4, KARL-ANTHONY Towns. Selected by the Timberwolves in 2015, Towns is without a doubt the best 3-point shooting center of all time, draining 779 career threes, which is by far the most 3-pointers made by any center in NBA history, and in the past 5 seasons, he's averaged over 40% on 5 threes a game, which would have been unheard of a decade ago. He's also extremely well-rounded on offense with good post moves, great speed, ball handling, and driving skills that make him a nightmare for opposing centers to guard. However, what holds Cat back from being higher on the list is the fact that he was a poor defender in his first couple seasons, and now at best he is a slightly above average defender. His lack of postseason success also contributes, as he's only been to the playoffs twice, and he got bounced in the first round both years. Granted, he's had some pretty bad teams around him for a majority of those years. However, the Wolves should have beat the Grizzlies this year, but they blew 3 double-digit leads going into the 4th quarter, and they lost in 6 games. I expect Towns to climb this list as he's just entering his prime, but for now, this is where he ranks. Number 3, John Wall. Drafted by the Wizards in 2010, Wall was a quick, athletic point guard who relied on his lightning speed to blow by defenders and get buckets at the rim. He also had great playmaking abilities, being top 3 in assists per game for 4 consecutive years. And in 2017, people were even saying John Wall was the best point guard in the East, after he had a career year averaging 23 and 11 on 45% shooting. Unfortunately, it was all downhill after that. He had a slew of injuries that would result in Wall playing just 73 games the next 3 seasons. After that, Wall was traded to the Rockets, where he'd play just 40 games before he and the team decided Wall would sit out until they could find a trade for him, since the Rockets were looking to rebuild. They never ended up finding a trade since Wall was signed to a Supermax contract, and they eventually settled on a buyout. Now he's going to play for the Clippers this upcoming season. However, it's safe to say that John Wall's best days are certainly behind him. But even when he was in his prime, the Wizards were good, but they were never true contenders, and at best, they were a 2nd round exit. Wall had a great couple of years, but with his prime being cut short, unless he wins a championship as a key piece on the roster, Wall probably won't be getting into the Hall of Fame anytime soon. Number 2, Kyrie Irving. Drafted in 2011 by the Cavaliers, Irving exploded onto the scene right away, winning Rookie of the Year, as he could score at all 3 levels, making difficult shot after difficult shot, and he has arguably the greatest handles the NBA has ever seen. When LeBron rejoined the team in 2014, Kyrie became the 2nd option, as he helped lead the Cavs to a championship by hitting this clutch 3 in Game 7 of the 2016 Finals. However, after the 2017 season, Kyrie was sick of playing second fiddle to LeBron and requested a trade, being shipped to the Celtics, where things didn't really go according to plan. Irving still got his numbers, but the team seemed to be clicking more without him, as young guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown felt they were more ready to take on a lead role. This led to Kyrie leaving in 2019 to join Kevin Durant in Brooklyn, where things have gone arguably even more south, as it has been riddled with injuries, and of course Kyrie opting to not get the vaccine, meaning he couldn't play home games for a majority of the past season. But when Kyrie is on the court, he's been magnificent, as last season he became just the 9th player to join the 50-40-90 club. He's a 7-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA member, and owns one of the most important championship rings in league history, which is something that only one other player on this list can top. Number 1. Anthony Davis. Selected in 2012 by the New Orleans Hornets, who later became the Pelicans, Davis was seen as a generational talent coming into the league, and while he hasn't quite been that, he has proved to be a lock for the Hall of Fame when he retires, as a 1-time champion, 8-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA member, 4-time All-Defense selection, and 3-time block leader. There's no question AD belongs at number 1. In addition to having more accolades, Davis is also the only person on this list who's ever been in MVP discussions. Granted, the Pelicans were never actually good enough for Davis to actually win the award, but he had the talent. Davis has incredible length and size at 6'10" with a 7'6" wingspan, is elite on offense and even better on defense with great athleticism, speed, agility, finishing skills, and could even shoot the ball. Yes, he did only make the playoffs 2 out of his 7 years in New Orleans, but that's not really AD's fault. The team he had was never really all that good, and even when they did add DeMarcus Cousins, injuries had taken this man's prime before that duo really even got started. So in 2019, AD had requested a trade and was sent to the Lakers, where he would join forces with LeBron James and won a championship in the 2020 bubble, playing out of his mind. However, it seems like Davis's prime will likely be cut short, as he's never really been the most durable player, and the past 2 seasons have been even worse, as you can expect this man to get injured pretty much every time you turn on a Lakers game. But despite the injury problems, AD was at least a top 10 player for the second half of the 2010s, maybe even top 5 at certain points. And for that, with everything else I've already stated, Anthony Davis, at least for now, is the best number 1 draft pick from the 2010s decade. That's it for the video, guys. Thank you all for watching, and next week we got episode 2 of the NBA's most hated player series coming at you, so please like and subscribe if you're ready for that. See ya.